SciFit provides commercial exercise equipment for physical therapy. From upper body and total body ergometers to recumbent steppers, SciFit provides safe, accessible exercise equipment to meet the needs of any facility. Find out more at www.scifit.com or call 1-800-278-3933.
Welcome to this podcast on the Guide to Physical Therapist Practice 3.0. With the release of the latest version of APTA's Guide to Physical Therapist Practice, a number of questions are emerging. I'm Dr. Lisa Culver of APTA's Department of Practice and Research, and I'll address the 5 most common issues in this podcast. First, why is the new guide only available online? While the guide's second edition was available as a book and online subscription, the newest guide was released in August online only, as Guide to Physical Therapist Practice 3.0. Guide 3.0 provides links to external and continually updated resources and content that allow the guide to meet the needs of the profession in a way that a static printed book could not. To truly be an evidence-based profession, it's critical that PTs and PTAs have the ability to stay up to date, have access to a variety of resources, and be facile in using them. Second, where is Guide 3.0? It's replaced the previous online Guide to Physical Therapist Practice 2nd edition at the same website, guidetoptpractice.apta.org. If you're an APTA member or paid subscriber, you can access Guide 3.0 with the same login that you used to access the online Guide 2nd edition. If you're not an APTA member, you can join at www.apta.org/membership to get free access to the guide as long as you stay a member. Individual and institutional subscriptions are also available for non-members. You can find subscription information at www.apta.org/guide. Third, what is Guide 3.0 and who is it for? Guide 3.0 is a description of practice. Originally, APTA developed the Guide to Physical Therapist Practice as a resource also for healthcare policymakers, administrators, managed care providers, third-party payers, and other professionals. Because these external stakeholders now have access to other key resources, and because the rapid evolution of healthcare policy requires more dynamic documents, the Guide 3.0 was developed primarily for physical therapists and physical therapist assistants audiences. Fourth, what are the changes in the Guide 3.0? I'll review the main revisions. The elements of the patient-client management model, examination, evaluation, diagnosis, prognosis, intervention, and outcomes are unchanged. However, Guide 3.0 also provides a more robust description of the process used when applying these components in practice. You will see a figure depicting the elements of patient or client management, and then just following it, see the elements in action, graphically presenting the process used. Concerning the graphics, here's a little tip I know will be appreciated by many of you. Each graphic in Guide 3.0 has a link below it that downloads it to a PowerPoint slide with the attribution included. Be sure to click OK at the bottom of the screen to allow PowerPoint to open, and there it will be. Within the physical therapist examination, review of systems has been added to history. The history, systems review, and tests and measures continue to be the 3 components of an examination. It is recognized that having a review of systems as part of history, in addition to having a systems review also as part of examination, has the potential to be confusing. But we encourage you to use this as a teachable moment for yourself, your colleagues, your employees, or your students. The 2 terms represent 2 different sets of information to be collected for 2 important and discrete purposes. As anticipated, you'll note that the language in Guide 3.0 has been revised to be consistent with the International Classification of Functioning, Disability, and Health, or ICF terminology. Let me also point out that just as many language translations, there often isn't a one-to-one relationship for the terms. ICF is a classification scheme, but not a system for intervention. In some cases, it made sense to have the terminology mirror ICF in interventions, and other places it just did not. Other language changes were made to more accurately reflect current terminology in the field. For example, sensory integration has been replaced by sensory processing. Also, certain sections such as integumentary repair and protection have been significantly updated to more accurately reflect current practice. You will also note changes in the groupings of categories of tests and measures and categories of interventions. For example, the test and measure category, formerly known as gait, locomotion, and balance from the Guide's second edition, is reorganized to more accurately reflect ICF language and practice. Gait and balance are now separate as their own categories, and locomotion is now mobility, including locomotion. Some other categories have been combined. For example, 3.0 combines the old intervention categories of electrotherapeutic modalities and physical agents and mechanical modalities into one category, biophysical agents. The preferred physical therapist practice patterns from previous editions have been deleted from the Guide 3.0 and will be available on the APTA website later this year for educational purposes only. The practice pattern groupings or titles, which often were used as diagnostic classifications, have not been validated. The descriptions of management for individuals who might be classified in practice pattern groupings have not been formally reviewed since the creation of the patterns. The House of Delegates position, diagnosis by physical therapist, states, quote, "A diagnosis is a label encompassing a cluster of signs and symptoms commonly associated with a disorder or syndrome or category of impairments in body structures and function, activity limitations, or participation restrictions," close quote. With the adoption of APTA's new vision statement that inextricably links our professional identity to the movement system, the diagnostic process used by physical therapists defines which elements of the movement system contribute to deficits in capacity or performance that become the focus of the plan of care. The clinical practice guidelines being developed by APTA sections and external entities also will guide decision-making. Educators both in academia and in the clinic may wish to use the practice patterns as a teaching tool. For example, students to apply to paper patients or hypothetical cases to help them understand the elements of patient-client management. But the patterns are not intended to be used to guide clinical practice in the management of actual patients or clients. The ICD-9 coding and the range of visits also have been deleted. The catalog of tests and measures, specific tests and measures available only on the CD version of the Guide's second edition, has been retired as the information is outdated. Instead, APTA activities have focused on determining selected tests and measures through initiatives such as the EDGE Task Forces, which stands for Evaluation Database to Guide Effectiveness, and PT Now. Fifth, when will Guide 3.0 be updated again? A regular schedule of updates to Guide 3.0 and a summary of those updates as they are made will be posted to the Guide 3.0 website on the Updates and Summary page. And as a final note, as you begin working with Guide 3.0 and want to reference it, we've provided how to cite the guide at www.apta.org/guide. Scroll down to the bottom of this page for formatting guidance. If you have any questions about content, you may contact me, Lisa Culver, Senior Specialist in Clinical Practice in the Department of Practice and Research. My email is lisaculver, LISACUL, V as in Victory, ER, @apta.org, or my phone number, 800-999-2782, extension 3172. And I thank you for listening.
This has been an APTA podcast. APTA members can access the latest podcasts and transcripts at www.apta.org/podcast.